So thanks, Bhuvan, for this nightmares, because I like this word nightmares. And as Ajay was saying, you see, don't panic, but panic and palpitations are part and parcel of any VR surgeon. Because I don't complete any surgery, it's the palpitations start happening. So I just share this small video, which you see, this was a young patient, so I had to put a buckle in this. This was a patient of detachment, myopic. You can see the thin sclera there. Uh, and sorry. So in such patients, phakic patient, young patient, I definitely put a band there, and then we started doing this vitrectomy. So I had just started doing the core vitrectomy, and on the temporal side, I noticed this hemorrhage. I just started the vitrectomy. You see the base vitreous is still there. You can see this horseshoe tear here. So I still persisted, went around, did the base dissection. PFCL, as Ajay was saying, I did inject. So after doing adequate vitrectomy, I just diathermized that break. There was, C1 kind of PVR. So I tried to dissect this membrane from this. And fortunately, this membrane was not a very big membrane. The small membrane, it came out. So now the key question came what to do, because this blood was extramacular and the PFCL I had injected. So what I did was I had to do a drainage retinotomy because horseshoe tear was pretty anterior in a phakic eye. So I made, you see, one retinotomy and then started doing airflow exchange. And retina got settled because retina was not a, it was a not much PVR. So retina settled. So the key question came whether to remove the blood or not, because macula was nicely attached here. You can see the macula very nicely attached. So as I did one small, iatrogenic retinotomy here and pulled this blood, but it did not come in a single go. You see, I am improving the suction, increasing. So it's small clot came. So I was not very happy because I am not very keen to leave this subretinal blood behind. So I made another retinotomy closer to the drainage retinotomy. And again, because first one blood had come, so I thought, let me try if I can contact the backlash with the blood, it may come. So fortunately for me, this time, after engaging the clot, you have to be very sure that you are engaging the clot and move it tangentially initially, and this entire blood clot came out. So this happened during the surgery, and then we injected oil and came out of it. So VR surgery, I'll begin my talk now. To me, all VR surgeries are challenging, and they are struggle at very close quarters. And all VR surgeries are very different. None of them are same. And nowadays, patient demand are so much that they want to join back duty very fast. And consumer court is always hanging on our heads. And at times we are confused in a dilemma, like in this patient, whether to proceed or leave or what to do. And there's a constant struggle going on in mind, and therefore panic and palpitating, both the P's are part of all VR surgeons who do this. And every VR surgeon is a fight, and fight is for success. And believe me, no one understands the pain and the stress of VR surgeon except a fellow VR surgeon. Nobody understands. So the topic given by Bhuvan was cannula not in position. You see, in all PPVs, infused cannula is first in and last out. That's the principle Steve Charles, taught us long decades back. And before we proceed with vitrectomy, we always check and confirm the intravitreal location of the cannula. But there are situations where you may be caught, like a bullous RD. RD in a phakic eye touching the lens. In eyes where corneal thickness is expected to be more, RD plus CD, uveitis, hypotony, endophthalmitis, small pupil. So here you should be wary of the fact that cannula can become subretinal, and you should be prepared for two things. One is AC maintainer, the other is a direct 6mm cannula. So I'll show you one or two videos only. This was a patient where, this was a resolved endophthalmitis actually. So we had to do a secondary vitrectomy. I did push in this cannula, but tip was not clearly seen. There was some muck around the tip of the cannula. So I made another retinotomy. Actually, I should have gone from the opposite side, but I thought I should be able to do it. So we depressed that port and cleared away this muck because I had not turned on the cannula. You could see some hypotony happening at this time. So you depress it here clear all the muck from around the tip. And till the time you see the tip, now it was clearly visible, then you turn on the infusion and do it. So seeing the tip is very important. So this was another patient. This was a active endophthalmitis. So here, because of hypotony, we did a needle infusion. This was preventive aspect that we don't want to land up subretinal. And once needle infusion was done to firm up the globe, then we had this 6 mm cannula. 6 mm cannula not easily available nowadays. So we had the 6 mm cannula go direct in all these eyes which have thick choroid. So last video which I want to show is again a patient who had a 49-year-old uveitis patient, posterior synechiae, ugly cataract with reg-looking RD. And this RD, this is a pre-op pictures. So we started this surgery. Since pupil was small and all, we did put a band there. You would see synechiae here and a lot of pigment on the anterior surface with some degree of cataract. Check the infusion cannula. And infusion cannula, if you see, we checked this, and to me, I saw the tip clearly. And we went inside, started operating, but notice the upper nasal, that is the light cannula, is subretinal. And so I thought this RD is becoming balloonous. So, and the left port is subretinal with the illumination. So we did a very half-hearted kind of vitrectomy. I could see a couple of breaks in the inferior part, and with a limited vitrectomy, still I injected PFCL because we had to somehow, complete the surgery also. So at till such time, and then I thought, let me shift now immediately. You see, once the cannula is subretinal, if you take out the cannula and keep shifting instrumentation, that also is not very good. So we shifted this cannula, upper nasal cannula. Now the instrumentation became cluttered because the ports are very close. So we still had the patience to do this. There were some breaks in the upper part also noted. Tried to do this vitrectomy, and there were PVR membranes all over, which we tried to separate and continue vitrectomy. And this break was iatrogenically done, which you see in the nasal part. And from that, some fluid I drained, fluid exchange, and after that, once the retina becomes sufficiently mobile, so I thought, let me take out the PFCL and we'll do. So at this juncture, what happened was, before I could turn on the air, the infusion port became subretinal during the surgery. So I checked, I could not see the port. This became subretinal now. So I again shifted, stopped that infusion, direct entry. Very important is straight entry now, no two-step incision. So again, check the port. So I could see. First step was to take out the subretinal layer which had gone initially. So took out that subretinal layer, which was not much at this stage. Then started this air fluid exchange. Unfortunately, this time we succeeded. And the 4 breaks which were previously there and one iatrogenic which I had created. So we had a nice flat retina, lasered all the breaks, put in the silicone oil. And since it was a re-surgery, the 2 surgeries were already done somewhere else, so we had to laser and create a false aura also, laser all around the, you don't want to subject him to re-surgeries. So this was the immediate post-operative period, retina settled. So what was the take home after this couple of surgeries? Is that maintain your calm, which Ajay also said, I agree. Avoid frequent exchange. If you are in doubt, do not have frequent exchange of instrumentations. Although retinal prolapse has become much rare with the 23-25 gauge, and avoid sudden jerky movements of the instrumentation because this can create dialysis or GRT. And consider needle infusion, as I had shown in one video, or even in phakic eyes, sometimes you can do an AC cannula also. And don't hesitate to change the ports, even if they become 4 or 5. And port entry this time should be vertical, straight, instead of angulated. And this is especially required whenever choroid is thick and boggy in eyes listed here, RD plus CD, uveitis, ENDOF, and small pupil. And always have 6 mm cannula. Thank you very much for listening.